Hello, One Grid Earth. My name is Dan. Following up on the Post Fire, which was a fire that burned some 14,000 acres north of Los Angeles. That number has increased over 15,000, but the percentage of containment has went from just a single digit percentage to 39%. See where these drops have been the flame retardant material all across these mountain area. It's still burning, and the smoke is heading southeast to Santa Clarita. Dangerous air, dangerous conditions. Too many new wildfires in California right now. New wildfire starting there. Bad place. Upper Lake 1 camera. That's it for that update. This is an article from The Conversation. Is Earth really getting too hot for people to survive? A scientist explains extreme heat and the role of climate change. Many countries have seen extremely hot weather lately, but in most of the uninhabited world, it's never going to get too hot for people to live here, especially in relatively dry climates. When it's hot outside in dry places, most of the time our bodies can cool off by evaporating water and heat from our skin as sweat. However, there are places where it occasionally can get dangerous and hot and humid, especially where hot deserts are right next to the warm ocean. When the air is humid, sweat doesn't evaporate as quickly, so sweating doesn't cool us the way it does in drier environments. In parts of the Middle East, Pakistan, and India, summer heat waves can combine with humid air that blows in off the sea, and this combination can be truly deadly. Hundreds of millions of people live in those regions, most without access to indoor air conditioning. Scientists like me use a wet bulb thermometer to get a better sense of the risk. A wet bulb thermometer allows water to evaporate by blowing ambient air over a damp cloth. If the wet bulb temperature is over 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and even at lower levels, the human body won't be able to let enough heat out. Prolonged exposure to such combined heat and humidity can be fatal. During a severe heat wave in 2023, wet bulb temperatures were very high over the lower Mississippi Valley, so they didn't reach fatal levels. In Delhi, India, where air temperatures were over 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius for several days in May 2024, the wet bulb temperatures came close, and several people died from suspected heat stroke in the hot and humid weather. In conditions like that, everyone has to take precautions. Is it climate change? When people burn carbon, whether it's coal in a power plant or gasoline in a vehicle, it creates carbon dioxide. The invisible gas builds up in our atmosphere and traps the sun's warmth near the Earth's surface where we live. The result is what we mean by climate change. Every bit of coal, oil, or gas that ever gets burned adds a little bit more to the temperature. As temperatures rise, dangerously hot and humid weather has begun to spread to more places. Areas of the U.S. Gulf Coast and Louisiana and Texas are increasingly at risk of dangerous hot and humid conditions in summer, as are heavily irrigated areas of the desert southwest where water sprayed over farm fields adds moisture to the atmosphere. Climate change causes a lot more problems than just hot, sweaty weather. Hot air evaporates a lot more water, so crops, forests, and landscapes in some areas dry out, which makes them more susceptible to wildfire. Each Celsius degree of warming can cause a 6-fold increase in wildfire over parts of the western U.S. Warming also makes ocean water expand, which can flood coastal regions. Rising sea levels threaten to displace as many as 2 billion people by 2100. All of these impacts mean that climate change threatens the global economy. Continuing to burn coal, oil, and gas could cut global incomes by about 25% by the end of the century, according to one estimate. Good news and bad news. They're both bad news and good news about climate change in the future. The bad news is that as long as we keep burning carbon, it will continue to get hotter and hotter, sorry. The good news is that we can substitute clean energy like solar and wind power instead of burning carbon to power to the products and services of modern life. There has been tremendous progress in the past 15 years in making clean energy reliable and affordable, and almost every country on Earth has now agreed to stop climate change before too much damage is done. Just as our ancestors built better lives by switching from outhouses to indoor plumbing, we will avoid making our world unlivable by switching from coal, oil, and gas to clean energy. Don't like the analogy at the end. They weren't switching to outhouses because... Never mind. That analogy at the end there kind of bothers me. About outhouses and our ancestors. I really say our ancestors when it's only just like 2 or 3 generations of people before us, long before us, that you probably knew living at one point. What is a heat dome, and how is it contributing to the heat wave in the U.S.? This is from The Guardian. Aram Salam. Approximately 80% of the country's United States country population experience temperatures at or above 90 degrees Fahrenheit for long periods of time. More than 200 million Americans, about 80% of the country's populations, are experiencing a kind of heat wave not seen in decades, smashing records with temperatures at or above 90 degrees Fahrenheit for long periods of time under a weather phenomenon known as a heat dome. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has announced that she has activated the National Guard to assist in any heat emergencies that may develop over the next several days. Cooling centers have opened in several cities across the U.S. in anticipation of the sweltering heat. Government officials have warned people to limit outdoor activities, drink plenty of water, and caution those about reliable air conditioning to find a way to cool down. What is a heat dome? Heat domes happen when abnormally hot weather lasts more than 2 days. The National Weather Service said the duration of this heat wave is notable and potentially the longest experienced in decades for some locations. A heat wave can be caused by several factors, including a heat dome, which occurs when strong high pressure traps hot air over a region, preventing cool air from traveling in and causing temperatures to rise on the ground and stay high. This heat dome, now seen in the eastern half of the country, originated from the southwest, where many cities were placed under excessive heat warnings. What impact does the climate crisis have on heat waves like this one? Scientists warn that heat waves like this one can increase the frequency as climate crisis intensifies due to the human activities such as burning fossil fuels and deforestation. Last year, the U.S. saw the most heat waves since 1936. Last year, the U.S. saw the most heat waves since 1936. What's this year going to be like? I'm going to roast. The nonprofit Center for Biological Diversity sent a petition Monday to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, asking it to recognize extreme heat and wildfire smoke as major disasters. The agency did not immediately issue a specific response to the petition, but a FEMA spokesperson for the Western United States said there was nothing that would preclude an emergency declaration for extreme heat and noted that there would need to be an immediate threat to life and safety that local authorities could not respond to. Just do it already. What are other risks associated with the heat? Wildfires are sweeping parts of the U.S. as a result of the soaring temperatures. In New Mexico, residents of Rio do Silvo, a town of roughly 7,000 people, were ordered to evacuate on Monday evening as the South Fork wildfire tore through neighboring areas. Many wildfires are also active on the West Coast, according to agencies like the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. In Southern California, 1,200 people were evacuated on Sunday from Gorman, a town nearly 62 miles northwest of Los Angeles. We were just looking at that. Here's Gorman right here. That's Gorman. There's Gorman, and you can see where all the fighting has been going on for miles. Fire still churning south. Flame retardant paints the ground. Referred to as the post-fire, it had burned more than 62 square miles and damaged at least 2 commercial buildings. So far, 20% of the blaze has been contained. Poor air quality is also a concern right now, since higher air temperatures and humidity contribute to air pollution. In addition to communities near those wildfires, states further away in Midwest, such as Ohio and Illinois, and the East Coast are under air quality alerts. An air quality action day means the ground level ozone within the region may approach or exceed unhealthy standards, according to the National Weather Service. Last June, wind blew smoke from the wildfires in Canada to the U.S.'s East Coast region, placing cities like New York under air quality alerts and shrouding them in orange haze. The Illinois Environmental Protection Agency warned those under the Air Quality Action Day to limit driving, conserve energy to reduce energy demands, and avoid using gasoline-powered equipment like lawnmowers and leaf blowers. I am experimenting with shorter videos. People on both sides, that they like the information, like the length, but some people don't want to listen to an hour-long, I don't even know what you would call it, climate-related video. Well, this one is a quick one. Get through this one, and if there's any other news or wildfires of note, I will be back. Until then, please take care.